Hi everyone, manredFC back again today. Please subscribe if you haven't. That is one thing I will ask of you to do today if you're watching, so please do that. The title of the video today is Ollie loves the semi but can't quite finish. Now I hope that isn't a problem we all suffer with, but he certainly did last night, as did the lads. I always like to take a bit of time after disappointing fixtures, and I was very lucky. My video didn't go up last night. I had a few problems and it probably saved me a bit of embarrassment today. So I've taken a bit of time. I've listened to a lot of people, on Twitter, BT Sport, a lot of pundits and what they've been saying, and there's been a lot of kind of mixed reactions to what we saw last night. But I thought I'd go through what I believe to be the case and where I can see us moving forward. So as we know, we lost 2-1 to Sevilla in the Europa League semi-final, and that is now the third of 3 semi-finals that we've gone out of this season. Now you can either say, is that a problem? Do we bottle it when we really need to kind of find that inner strength? Or is this where the team is currently and it's a progression from last season? So there are two sides of the fence here. It'll be interesting to know where you sit. So where do you think we are? Do you think we're doing well? Do you think we didn't do too well last night? Let me know your comments and your thoughts below. But what has to be said is there are a lot of positives to take. Yes, of course there are negatives, and it's the negatives that cost us. But it's really important to not get carried away and believe, woe is us, what a terrible time, because there will be a lot of opposition fans that really do like to rub it in, and rightfully so. That's what football's about, and we love that part of the game. But there are a lot of positives to take. The first thing to note, and it's what I said in my preview, is when we pressed with intent and we played with pace and really got in their faces, we saw a lot of joy. We created so many chances, 20 shots to be exact. 20 shots. And I think it was something like 36 in the 2 legs that we had. The biggest downside was that the only goals we scored were from penalties. So does that link into maybe a lack of finishing, clinical finishing? Are we relying too much on Martial potentially there to do the job? So obviously the positive there is that we are creating chances against a very resolute Sevilla who don't concede many goals or chances really. So I have to say we combined well in the final third, and that winning the ball high up really got us a lot of joy. I mean, I saw it in the second half. We won the ball high. Greenwood got a shot off. So that was a really nice thing to start with. Their goalkeeper was outstanding. There's no getting away from it. A bit like Copenhagen. He came out quickly and he came out big. He spread himself, aka Peter Schmeichel back in the day. But like Ollie says, there are no good saves, just poor finishes. And you have to agree that a lot of the finishing was fairly central to the goal, not really put in the corners. It is difficult to say. Obviously, Martial had the volley, and it's difficult to obviously direct that because it's a snap kind of split-second decision. Greenwood, great touch over the top. Potentially could have put it in a corner, but you can't complain about Greenwood's finishing. And then there were a lot of last-minute blocks as well. I think Rashford could have been a bit more cute and allowed the slide to come across and then maybe finishing behind, but alas, it didn't happen, which is sad. Bruno obviously scored the penalty again, and he's now got 22 goals. Sorry, he's got 22 penalties for Manchester United. He hasn't, but we have. Goodness. So 22 penalties this season. They like to call us, the penalty kings. But I think if you're in the box and you're in the penalties, then that's what's going to happen. You've got to expect that you're going to win penalties if you're in their attacking third and in their penalty area. That's going to happen if you get tackled. I really liked this, and I don't know if some of you agree, but the anger between players. Lindelof and Bruno really got at each other after that second goal. How often do we see that? Rarely. And that shows a real commitment and passion to win. And I think this is a real problem in our team. It's very apathetic. Maguire's our captain and supposed leader. I didn't see him shouting or screaming once. David De Gea, our goalkeeper, started in goal, doesn't command his area. So where's the anger? Paul doesn't give it. Fred doesn't give it. We need to see some real steel in this team if we really want to consider winning those trophies or at least competing for them. So I thought that was a really nice positive. And speaking about players individually, I thought Lindelof was actually really good. Had a really good game and looked assured. Yes, he was really poor on the second goal, and we'll go into that in a minute. But I think generally he was fantastic and better than Harry Maguire, the £80 million centre-back next to him. Let's not forget he had his flaws in the game as well. I thought Martial was really good at holding up the ball. Obviously slid Rashford in for the penalty, and generally linked up play really nicely and looked dangerous. And I thought Fred actually did quite well. No, he is not a CDM, and no, I'm not backtracking on my opinion. He cannot play there. He is so busy, though, that he allowed us to kind of create that mentality of harassing them quickly. I think that's why he started. But his combination with Pogba doesn't work. How many times did their attack get onto our back four? Countless. They don't protect it. Neither of them do that job naturally, so it's not a natural instinct for them to close the gaps and sniff out danger. That's why Fred is so busy. He chases the ball and he relies on his stamina and fitness to get back in, to win it. You cannot question his endeavour, but what you can question is his natural instinct to sit in front of that back line. Matic didn't even feature. Now you could say if we'd scored one of the 15,000 chances we had, it wouldn't have mattered if Matic started. But would we have avoided those 2 goals if he did? Potentially. Now the negatives. Sadly, there are always negatives, especially when you lose. Obviously, there's no wonderfully constructed goal. There's always negatives and mistakes in there. Taking Romero out for De Gea started on the wrong foot for me. Why is Romero being dropped for De Gea? What did De Gea do in his last semi-final? Oh yeah, he had a shocking performance against Chelsea and let the ball squeak between his legs and his hands more than once. So why does he come in for a semi-final? What does that say to your backup goalkeeper, who's probably the best number 2 in the world? Sorry, mate. Get off. Get on the bench. We're going with David De Gea, who's made more mistakes than anyone else this season. Are we rewarding good performances there? Or are we just trying to keep a key player that's on a lot of money happy? You tell me. Fullbacks. They don't provide enough attacking intent. Aaron Wan-Bissaka's getting better. I keep saying this. He's a defensive fullback. And he did fairly well. Dived in a bit too much for me. He did. Gave away that awful free kick on the edge where he didn't need to commit. Just shepherd them away. But generally his defensive work was good. His attacking, unfortunately not brilliant. He overlapped. He got a few crosses in. But he needs to improve from crossing from deep. 20, 30 yards from the byline. He needs to be whipping that in. But then we need strikers that make the front post run. Martial did a few times. But the ball's not coming in. No aerial threat. Greenwood obviously likes to cut in from the right to shoot on his left, sometimes goes on the outside, and we use that to some effect at times. My big problem with the game was how ineffective our left side was. And the second winning goal came from that left side, didn't it, of ours. Brandon Williams, love him, right-footed left back. He was in the youth team not 14 months ago, so you can't really expect him to play in a Europa League semi-final and be one of the best players on the pitch. He gets found out, and his negatives are really highlighted. And one of his negatives are what? Attacking. What does Rashford do? Narrows the pitch. He always cuts inside. So who is overlapping their right back? Who was Jesus Navas. Jesus Navas, who doesn't know how to defend, or certainly has never played it to any particular level where you'd go, we've really got to stay away from their right back. No one got beyond him. Brandon really didn't overlap. When he did do his overlapping runs, he came inside, didn't he, at the fullback and tried to get slid in. Their interchange was really poor. Our left side was terrible. And kind of moving on up the left side, Marcus Rashford, what has happened, mate? What has happened? He's just making error after error. Wonderful pace, wonderful attitude. But you remember that pass from Pogba that was fantastic, like a 50-yard ball from the edge of our area? Rashford away. No one was catching him. Fumbles it when cutting in again, and it just gets snuffed out. No intelligence, no awareness. Is it confidence? Maybe. Is he still injured? If he's still injured, why is he playing? In the last 20 minutes of the game, he was walking. He looked absolutely dead and knackered. Take him off. I realised Ollie said in his post-match press conference he wants to keep the players on the pitch that can score goals. Igalo scoring goals and he provides that target man. Rashford, and I love him, was a total waste yesterday. And he needed to come off. And he wasn't anywhere to be seen during their second goal. Yes, Fred comes across to cover that left pocket, but we need Marcus getting back to help out Brandon, which stops the cross in the first place. He doesn't do that. What then happens after we go 2-1 down? I see Marcus running all over the place to try and close the ball. It's too late. We're a goal down. Sevilla don't concede many goals. Moving on. Fullbacks were obviously at fault, but the centre-backs did not help. Look at the second goal. Where are Maguire and Lindelof going? What is Maguire doing? He's defending nothing. He's way too far over, and that's caused Lindelof to come over, who again isn't aware of what's behind him. They're both nearly past their front post, and then Wan-Bissaka switched off to let Luke de Jong, who I said in the preview will score from crosses. So we clearly haven't picked up on that, and that's got them the goal. Really poor, really poor. And they are the moments when we're talking about Manchester United. We're talking about we're going to the end of competitions and we're trying to win games. Those moments are where you have to be really switched on. And those are always the moments where we're not. How many times do we talk about David De Gea's made a rick that's cost us a goal and cost us points in the league, or a centre-back switched off? And then we've got someone coming out after the game going, yeah, it wasn't really good enough today. No shit, it wasn't good enough. Fred and Pogba, I've said this already, they don't protect our back line. Both had, I think, quite good games individually. They're not a unit. Look at Liverpool, even look at Sevilla. Benega, he dominated the midfield with Fernando behind. Yes, we created chances against them, but they just looked more composed and assured and a unit. Fred was over here, Pogba was over here, then Fred was there, Pogba was here, Pogba was up near the top, then he came back. Who's playing where? At least Matic knows, well, I haven't got the legs, so I'm just going to stay in front of the back two. What are Fred and Pogba doing? They don't work as a unit, I'm sorry. And because Bruno bombs on so much, you just get this massive 20 yards behind Martial unless he drops in, where there's no one. And then you've got Marcus or Greenwood trying to narrow in, and you haven't got fullbacks that are willing to go past them, like Liverpool do. So there's no one stretching the pitch, so everything comes condensed and narrow, and then you're trying to play through the smallest passing lanes that are available. So it doesn't work. We need to address that, which is a shame. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Now, I think he's done particularly well this season, and you can't put a lot on his door because we created so many chances. The only thing I will say is why we're waiting until the 87th minute to make a substitute. We could all see from probably the 70th minute onwards, they were dead. They were knackered, and it was only going one way. Sevilla looked like the goal was coming, or at least the chance was coming. And we just carried on. It's as if Ollie said, you know, I've just got to pray that these 11 on the pitch can get us through it. What about Ighalo? You decided you wanted to sign him, and he's actually done all right when he's played. You stick him up front, and you can play crosses into him if you want to do that. He brought Ighalo on in the 93rd minute. You're trying to whip crosses in for the last 3 minutes. What are you doing? Get him on earlier, surely. Juan Mata came on. Again, it wasn't a game for Juan Mata in the last 6 minutes. I don't know why he came on, and then Dan James as well. You've got pace, Dan. Go around the outside. He got a ball in a really good position on our right channel, on the right flank, and he tries to cut inside. And you think, Dan, you're not physical, you're not technical, but you are absolutely rapid. Go around the outside of your man and try and get a ball in. At least you might get a free kick against you. Do not run into the crowd of players, please. What does he do? He runs into the crowd of players, he gets snuffed out. So sadly, we're out. Obviously, there are positives, obviously. There are sadly some negatives. But when you look at it from last season, if someone had told me we'd get to 3 semi-finals and finish third in the league, I would have been happy with that. I mean, I would. I'm going to do a proper kind of review of this season at some point. But, you know, the game was frustrating. It was annoying. It was a typical Europa League frustrating performance. But I'm so much happier sitting here going, we did really well in the game. We dominated periods of that. But it's just the little tweaks that we need to change. It's not a... You know, this is Man United's heritage. Jose Mourinho sat behind the ball, you know, 2 banks of 15 players trying to score on one counter-attack, and then Jose going, you know, at least we're trying to play counter-attacking football. Oh, sorry, attacking football, not counter-attacking football. But I think today highlighted completely how Ollie does not trust the squad, and he doesn't. And let's not get this twisted. He signed Ighalo and James. Yeah, Ighalo obviously isn't going to stay for long, but what's James doing? He didn't trust him to come on. Lingard didn't even come on. Well, what does that tell you about him? Andreas, he's clearly gone. So we need to sign quite a few players. So it's literally a case of over to you, Ed. Over to you. Again, thank you very much. See you again soon.